Welcome back to Movie Wheel. Thanks for supporting us today. I am showing a 2022 Australian survival thriller film titled Gold. Watch out for the spoilers, just enjoy and take care. A train runs through a barren landscape. As the film begins, a grungy-looking individual named Virgil is seen inside the train devouring some pieces of bread. He notices a strange woman sitting in front of him, staring and trying to calm her infant. After some time, the train halts and Virgil exits, giving the woman his bread. He then approaches a local business and asks the owner if he has seen anyone near. But the proprietor continues to watch TV without responding. Later, when Virgil asks about the restroom, the owner directs him in an unfamiliar language. He eventually arrives at the restroom, which looks filthy and overrun with flies. Regardless, Virgil must utilize it to relieve his stomach discomfort while he's in the restroom. A masculine voice asks him whether he's waiting for someone to go to compound. Virgil responds to his invitation to join him after listening to his words. Later, a man approaches Virgil as he is washing his face and cautions him not to waste any water. In the next scene, Virgil and Keith are seen moving in a pickup truck towards compound. Virgil is a little taken aback to see an increase in the charge when Keith is explaining to him his fee for driving him to the compound. He had assumed it would just be $200. Virgil tries to switch on the truck's air conditioning because of the intense heat, but Keith reprimands him and says that doing so will put pressure on the engine and harm it. After traveling a significant distance, the truck's tire blows out, forcing them to stop and change it. While they're doing it, they see a brawl between two wild dogs. When Keith notices this, he chases the unharmed dog while providing a painless demise for the injured one. They quickly repair the tire and return to the road. Later, they stop to refuel, but because it is already late, they decide to rest for the day and continue their journey tomorrow. Keith asks Virgil about his motivation for going to compound while they are spending time together at night. Virgil responds that he is looking for a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity and is confident that he will find it there. As Keith visits compound on a regular basis, he attempts to persuade Virgil the compound is not a better place for opportunities. He also adds that the only thing he can find there is hard labor too, which Virgil responds that he is not frightened. The following morning, Virgil is shown driving the truck while Keith sits in the passenger seat. After driving for a while, Virgil begins to feel hot from the scorching heat outside and chooses to turn on the AC to its maximum capacity. This causes the truck's engine to shut down. As Keith discovers the fact, he yells at Virgil and orders him to pull over. Virgil apologizes after halting the truck and proceeds to relieve himself. As he walks back to the vehicle, he sees several rock boulders. Feeling curious, he moves up close to one of the rocks and cleans it of dirt. The rock appears to be made of gold, which surprises Virgil. He summons Keith and requests that he inspect the rocks. As soon as he gets there, Keith pulls out his lighter and begins to explain that if it burned and turned black, it wasn't gold. But when he shoots at a portion of the stone, the color does not change, and Keith decides that it is gold. The scene then turns to the duo digging the gold out of the ground with shovels, but the boulder is so large and firmly planted that they are unable to move it even an inch. Despite their best efforts, they then decide to pull the gold using a rope tied to the truck. Yet the rock remains immobile and the rope pulls away. Keith leaves later in the evening to look for some firewood for the night. He informs Virgil that wild dogs are prevalent in this area and can only be driven away with fire. Listening to this, Virgil joins him and the two of them return with a load of firewood. They light the fire and sit around talking about the fortune they've just discovered. Keith becomes quite excited, thinking about how their lives will soon change. He screams and jumps into light. After some time, Keith adds that because they are unable to extract the gold, one of them will have to go to town and hire an excavator to dig it out. He also suggests that he has some contacts who can lend them an excavator, and he proposes that Virgil travel the town. This is because Virgil is inexperienced with the desert environment and has no idea how to adapt to it for an extended period of time. Virgil, on the other hand, thinks otherwise. He advises Keith to go get an excavator while he waits and guards the treasure. He further claims that he has no idea what to do in the new place and that he lacks sufficient contacts. After hearing this, Keith asks him one last time if this is his final decision, to which Virgil responds that he is a tough guy who can handle the situation easily. Keith is seen departing a location the next morning after bringing canned meals, water, and a tiny tent cloth to Virgil. He also gives Virgil a satellite phone for communication and a pocket knife for her defense. Before leaving, Keith then says it will take him around 5 days to return with an excavator. He then moves away, instructing Virgil to be vigilant and to take care of himself later. Virgil picks up the tent cloth and ties it around a nearby tree, creating a makeshift shelter for himself. He also checks the satellite phone to see if it is operational. He then goes scavenging for firewood in the surrounding region. When he returns from gathering firewood for the night, he discovers a scorpion crawling around his hiding place. He chases the scorpion away from his location with a piece of wood. As night falls, Virgil is seen sitting over the fire, warming his tin meal. He loves his supper, but feels scared after hearing the wild dogs quarreling close. As a result, he is seen holding his pocket knife. Virgil wakes up pale and exhausted. The next morning, he rushes to empty his stomach but hesitates to use any water to clean himself. Meanwhile, the satellite phone rings, and before Virgil can answer it, it cuts off. Virgil gets upset and walks around the area and discovers the wreckage of a damaged jet. He chooses to use it as a makeshift shelter. Nevertheless, because the gold spot is not visible from there, he abandons his plan. He, however, removes some plain components and uses them as a shelter. Worn out, Virgil wakes up. He notices that the sun has burned a portion of his face. He then sits alongside the gold and begins to converse with himself. While doing so, he has the bright notion of attempting to break a lump of gold. He succeeds after repeatedly striking it with a rock, breaking a little bit of gold that looks heavy. Keith calls him on the satellite phone at the same moment, and he quickly takes it up. Keith informs him that it will take longer than expected because his truck's engine frequently overheats. Virgil tells him that he has successfully broken a small piece of gold, but Keith suggests that he sit right next to the gold and he will do his best to get there quickly. Virgil can be spotted sitting right next to the gold at night when some wild dogs approach him. He uses the firewood to chase them away and rescues himself. The next morning, Virgil pours some water into a bottle and consumes it simultaneously. He spots a striped snake approaching him. He makes an attempt to kill the snake, but the snake manages to get away. As he turns around, he notices that he has knocked over the bottle and most of the water has spilled out. After some time has passed, he goes to the location of the plane crash in order to collect further wreckage for a shelter. At that very moment, he becomes aware that someone is coming closer to him. After entering the aircraft, he makes an effort to remain anonymous. After some time, the stranger appears beside the plane and requests that he come out of his hiding location. The stranger is revealed to be a woman who offers him food and drinks. On the other hand, Virgil is unmoved and would not accept anything she has to offer. In addition to this, she inquires about Virgil's reasons for being in the desert as well as the circumstances surrounding his arrival there. Virgil, on the other hand, does not respond to her questions and instead chooses to remain silent. Later, he offers the woman shelter on the plane and begins to depart, but the woman believes he is hiding something from her. Following that, the woman can be seen chasing Virgil and questioning him about how he got there. The questions initially infuriate Virgil, who confronts her and requests that she leave him alone and not meddle in his business. The woman sees Virgil's shelter and begins to move towards it. When she attempts to destroy a shelter and requests that he leave, Virgil becomes enraged and strikes her with a shovel, killing her instantly. He then removes valuable items from her backpack and buries her close to his hideout. A short time later, the wild dogs dug up the dead body and start dragging it around. As soon as Virgil realizes what's going on, he starts chasing the dogs away. After that, he drags the body of the woman for a short distance and sets it on fire, using a few pieces of wood. As a result of this, his eyes are filled with tears. The following morning, Virgil is awakened from his sleep by the ringing of the satellite phone and immediately answers it. On the other hand, Keith tells him that he has located the excavator, but that he would require some additional time to get there because the load on the excavator is preventing him from moving speedily. Before hanging up the phone, Keith encourages Virgil to be tough. After some time has passed, Virgil sees a truck driving by, but he is unable to get away since he is greedy for more gold. While he is out seeking firewood for the night, he can feel that a sandstorm is on its way. He makes a hasty run to the shelter and makes an effort to maintain his safety there. Nevertheless, the storm swiftly rips off portions of the shelter, which compels Virgil to run for his life. During his run, a falling tree branch hurts him badly. After a while, the storm dissipates, and Virgil eventually comes to his senses and notices that he is buried in a heap of sand with a piece of branch stuck in his stomach. He does not rip the branch off of the tree, but instead rushes off to explore the gold site. After removing some of the sand, he finds the enormous gold rock and passes out beside it. The next scene begins with Virgil ripping the branch out of his stomach, which causes him to experience heavy bleeding. In the course of the procedure, he creates a fire and warms a can in it as he sterilizes the wound. With a hot can, he breaks down into screams. After that, he begins to scrape his face with sand and then falls to the ground. When he wakes up, he sees a woman standing over him with a crossbow pointed in his direction. Virgil begins to see visions of the previous woman he killed after witnessing her. Once Virgil regains consciousness, a woman brings him a glass of water to sip, and then exits. As he is unable to find the woman, he concludes that he must be hallucinating. While this is going on, the satellite phone rings and he digs it out of the sand to answer it. Keith gives Virgil the advice to get rid of the woman. When Virgil tells him about her soon after the phone call finishes, the woman reappears in front of Virgil and offers him assistance. A greedy Virgil, who is more concerned with the gold, yells at her to leave. Before she leaves, the woman asks if he has seen her sister, yet Virgil does not respond, and when he opens his eyes, he is surrounded by burnout fires and wild dogs. He quickly contacts Keith and asks where he is, to which Keith responds that he is close by and will arrive soon. Virgil begs him over the phone to hurry because wild dogs are attempting to attack him. Keith is revealed to be sitting at a distance from Virgil, keeping an eye on him using binoculars. He waits and watches till the dogs attack and pull Virgil away. After a while, Virgil can be seen getting devoured by the dogs while still staring at the gold. Keith enters shortly with his vehicle linked to an excavator. He glances down at Virgil's body before returning to his truck to pick something up. As he turns around, an arrow strikes him in the chest, and he collapses while trying to figure out who shot him, but finds no one. This marks the end of the movie, and thanks for watching.